The law of intentionality. Growth doesn't just happen. Personal growth is not a natural process in most people's lives. If we're going to grow, we need to be intentional about it. And the truth is, many of us simply are not intentional. We're more procrastinators. We're waiting for something just to happen naturally, and it doesn't happen that way. It has to be intentional. And there are several things that were shared today about what we call the growth gap traps. And number one is the assumption gap. I assume that I will automatically grow. You will never just automatically grow. You have to do something about it. You have to be intentional about it as well. The number two is the knowledge gap. I don't know how to grow. One of the most important things, I tell people this all the time, you can't do it by yourself. You need a mentor. You need someone that's already been there that can help you to grow. And there's just a lot of people who just will not invest their time, their talent, and their treasure into a mentor to help them to grow, to give them the knowledge that they need. I know over the years, for me, I've had many coaches, I have had many mentors that help me to grow. The other one is the gap, the timing. It's not the right time to begin. When is the right time? Now is the right time. There's always people who are putting off uh, tomorrow, today, or today, tomorrow. They just keep waiting for something to happen, like it's magically going to come out of the air. And the truth is, it just doesn't happen unless you put time and effort into it. Number four is the mistake gap. I'm afraid of making mistakes. Look, if you're going to be good at anything, my wife and I, in Florida, since we moved here, we started playing this game called pickleball. And I remember for the first few months, my wife was saying, I can't get this. I keep making mistakes. And I'm like, Mary, that's natural. The difference is that you have to keep on trying. And sometimes the fear of making mistakes, I just can't get over making mistakes. Well, look, everybody makes mistakes. Anyone that's ever been great at anything has a boatload, maybe a house full of mistakes that they make and have made. And don't let you keep making mistakes. Keep trying, keep getting back into the game, keep persevering no matter what. The perfection gap. I have to find the best way before I start. There's no such thing as finding the best way. You learn by the mistakes that you make in order to perfect whatever it is that you're trying to do. Whether it's speaking, I'm a professional speaker. I've traveled around the world. I've spoken to thousands and thousands of people in the crowd. But before I ever got there, I had to stop really small with a small group. I used to teach Sunday school, and I had this small group, and I've learned about starting. And the best thing before you can ever perfect anything, you have to start. When I played basketball, I wasn't very, very good at it. Just like my wife, she wasn't really, really good at pickleball. Now she's a pretty good pickleball player. Why? Because she was willing to make mistakes. But the perfectionist will say, well, I can't do it until I'm the best. If you're like that, you'll never, ever going to achieve your dream or your vision. And then number six, the inspiration gap. I don't feel like doing it. How many people fall into that trap? I don't feel like doing it. Well, I don't feel like getting out of bed sometimes. Sometimes I don't feel like doing a video. Sometimes I don't feel like traveling. Sometimes I don't feel like mentoring or coaching. But if I'm waiting for something to inspire me, in order for me to do something, I will never do it. Here's how I usually get inspired. When I start doing something that I didn't want to do, but know that I can do it, when I start to do it, I feel inspired. That's why it's so important just to go ahead and do it. Don't worry about how you feel. People depend on their feelings. That's why they get in trouble with their relationships, their finances, um, all of the things that you base your feelings upon, don't base it upon how you feel. Base it upon what the results are going to be. Don't just wait for inspiration. You know, just go ahead and do it and believe. I believe that the inspiration will come as a result of that. And then there's the comparison gap. I don't know about you, but that's me. Others are better than I am. So I'm not going to try. I'm not going to do it. You know, why would I get on a basketball court when everybody's better than me? Why would I become a speaker when there's so many better speakers than me? Why should I help teach a class when there are better teachers than I am? You know, there's always someone that's going to be better than you. That's not the problem. Someone's going to be more intelligent than you are. Someone's going to be a better speaker than you are. Some people, believe it or not, actually look better than you look. And so all of those things can be detrimental to our growth because we're comparing ourselves to others. And you really don't want to do that. You know, look, take a hard look in the mirror. That's who the person God's created you to be. Believe that you can do or be just as good as anybody else without comparing yourself to others. You know, one time I was on the radio across the nation. I had this radio station, a radio program, and I remember the first time I went and I spoke to the marketing director, and you have to submit a tape, and you know they evaluate your tape to see if it's compatible with the station policies and procedures. And I remember speaking to the lady, and you know, after they approved everything, and I went and I spoke to the marketing director, and I said to her, "What can I do better? You know, how are your other stations and shows doing? How do I compare? What about my voice? Do I have to change the inflections? Do I have to be more animated? You know, what are the things that I could do to make myself better?" And this is what she said, and always stuck with me. She goes, "Your audience will find you. Don't look for your audience. Your audience will find you." And that's when you have to stop comparing yourself to others, understanding that you have a gift, a talent, and ability to be just as good as someone else. Someone needs to hear your voice. You need to share your experience because somebody's going through something that you've already went through, and you can be a resource and an inspiration to those who are in the midst of their storm. You can share, look, I've already been through that storm. This is how I got out of it. So stop comparing. Um, Number 8, the expectation gap. This is another one that really got to me as well. I thought it would be easier. You know, whatever you're trying to do, you're building a business, you're stepping out for the first time, maybe you're becoming a speaker, maybe you're traveling internationally, teaching others, and we think it's going to be easier. The problem is that life is hard. I want you to say that life is hard. Life is not easy. Nothing that we do, nothing that's worth getting comes to us easy. Uh, how do you learn to become a better speaker? Speak. How do you become a better basketball player? Play. How do you become a better writer? Write. All of those things take time. They take preparation. They take the right attitude. They take the right opportunity and the action. We call that luck. What is luck? Preparation, which we call growth, attitude plus opportunity plus action means do something about it, will create your luck that you're looking for. So you must be prepared. You must have the right attitude. Look for the opportunities, then do something about it, and you'll be the luckiest person on the planet. So what do I do to get to the next level? How do I stop the roller coaster procrastination? I must become intentional. So I must do this. Number one, I must ask the big question now. What is the big question? What do you feel in your heart that you're called to do? What are the obstacles? What is stopping you from taking that next step in your evolution? taking that next step into your destiny and your purpose. What are you doing? Write it down. There's a there's an old scripture that says in Ecclesiastes, there's a time and a season for everything. This is your season, but you have to do it now. Number three, you have to face the fear factor. Number one, ask the big question. Number two, do it now. And number three, face the fear factor. All of us are afraid. I remember the first time that I was invited to go speak internationally in Lima, Peru. And one of the things was is that I didn't speak the language. I don't speak Spanish. And I had some friends says, Steve, they really need to hear from you. All your years in the corporate world, all your years in ministry, you have something to offer the people. And I said to myself, why would they want to hear from me? I'm just a Rhode Island kid who now lives in Florida, who grew up in a single family home. Uh, yes, I went to college, I got my degrees, things like, but that fear of going into a new place. So here I am. There's a audience about 3 to 4 thousand people in this room. I have an interpreter who's I'm hoping that he's interpreting the things that I'm saying are correct. And yet, when I got over that fear, I realized that's where I belong. I realized that I was connecting with people that we were from a different nation, different culture, we spoke a different language, but there was something that we had in common, and that was life. And so when you face your fear, when you're able to step into those places that you've been reluctant to do, guess what? You're going to be able to overcome those things. And then the next time, the next opportunity that comes, you go, I faced the fear. I overcame that with perseverance, with preparation, uh, and opportunity. And then I moved into this place where not only was my dream realized, but dreams that I didn't even understand or even knew or even have the opportunity to go. And I've now been to several countries and I've spoken at least 8 times in different nations. And this year, it's the same. I'm still getting phone calls to go and to help other people to grow. And number four, you have to change your mentality from accidental growth to intentional growth. Most people live accidentally. They're hoping that something happens. They're not intentionally putting their lives together. So accidental growth says this, I plan on starting today. Intentional growth says, I insist on starting right now. Accidental growth waits for growth to come. Intentional growth says it takes responsibility to grow. Accidental growth only learns from the mistakes. Intentional growth, it learns before mistakes. Accidental growth depends on good luck. Intentional growth relies on hard work. Accidental growth quits early and often. Intentional growth perseveres long and hard. Accidental growth falls into bad habits. Intentional growth fights for good habits. Accidental growth talks big. You've seen people, they just, this guy, I have to share this with you really quick. Basketball again, because I played basketball most of my life. I had this friend, man, he told us one time, man, I could play basketball. I'm so good. I played high school, I played college, and we went. I said, wow, man, I'm looking forward to playing with someone that's good. We went to the basketball court and he got ready. He couldn't dribble, he couldn't shoot, he couldn't, all he did was talk big stuff. We know people like that. They talk big, but people who are intentional follow through. They work hard, they're disciplined. The people who rely on accidental growth play it safe, but those that are intentional take risk. Another problem with people who are accidental in their growth is they think like a victim. There's always a problem. There's always a reason why they can't do something. There was this show when I was a kid called Gulliver's Travels, and he was a giant living among the Lilliputans who were maybe 6 or 8 inches high. And there was this one guy, no matter what they decided to do, if the enemy was attacking, if there was a famine in the land, he would always say this one word or this one sentence: it'll never work. And there are people that are like that around you. No matter what you do, no matter what idea you come up with, they will always say it'll never work. But don't think like a victim. Don't think like that Lilliputian. Think like a learner, like a champion. Think like I am an overcomer and you will overcome. People who are accidental in their growth, they rely only on their talent. I know so many talented people that never get to the next level. But people that are intentional about their growth rely on their character. It's who you are when nobody sees you. Accidental growth stops learning after graduation, but intentional growth never stops learning. All leaders are readers, and every great leader is a great reader. You must continue to educate yourself. Find a mentor, find someone that can invest into your life so that you'll have exponential growth. A lot of people just are not willing to learn. I've seen people say, no, once I get out of college, that's it. I'm never going back to school again. The education doesn't have to be formal, but it needs to be ongoing. So let's go over these 8 uh, gaps that you have to overcome if you're going to grow. Number 1, the assumption gap. I assume I will automatically grow. No, you won't. You have to put time into it. The knowledge gap. I don't know how to grow. Find a mentor, find someone who can speak into your life, become accountable. The timing gap. It's not the right time to grow. It's always the right time to grow. Never fall into that lie or mistake. The mistake gap. I'm afraid of growing. I'm afraid of what I might become. Don't ever be afraid, because as you grow, the true you, the real you, what you were designed for, to change the world, to change your community, to change the nation, will be revealed. The perfection gap. I have to find the best way. No, you don't. Uh, you'll find the best way as you make mistakes. You'll begin to realize the things that don't help you to grow, but you can't wait until it happens. The inspiration gap. I don't feel like growing. Man, if you're waiting to be inspired, you may never ever get to your destiny or your destination. See, if it takes me a month to be inspired, then guess what? I wasted a month. That's why you need to do it now. The comparison gap. Others are better than you are. Probably are. But I believe that you are a 10 in one area of your life, or maybe 2 areas of your life. There's some area of your life that's better than everybody else. Find it, explore it, and just take it to the next level. And then number 8, the expectation gap. I thought it would be easier than this. You have to put in the time. You have to put in the energy. You have to put in getting more educated and your resources. You have to put in the money as well in order for you to grow. It doesn't just happen automatically. If you do these 8 things, I believe that you will beat procrastination, um, tie it up, throw it out of your house, and that this time next week, next month, if you apply these things, you're going to see growth. And not only is it just going to happen, it's not going to be incremental growth, it will be exponential growth. I'm rooting for you. I believe your best days are ahead of you. Thank you.